It is time for the one and only, the premier, the only official podcast of Pro Rodeo. Your Chute Bosses are ready, so let's give it a go and talk some rodeo.
Hello everyone and welcome into another episode of the Chute Bosses. We got a change in the old pitching rotation today. Tracy Rink out of the office here this afternoon, so Alex Dodd jumping on here with us on the Chute Bosses podcast. Alex, thanks for coming on. Got a lot of exciting things to talk about in rodeo, man.
Yeah, it's good to be on here, gearing up for the NFR. Got to go with a little call to the bullpen, get one of the reserves in here.
Yeah, bring in the righty. He's ready to rock and roll.
Let's go.
Todd, let's get it started with our Pro Rodeo props. This time we're going to go to an event that just wrapped up just this past week, and we're going to go to Cole Patterson. Won his third gold buckle this past weekend at the Kansas Star out in Mulvane, Kansas. Tracy was out there covering the steer roping, and, what a dominating stretch of rodeo it's been for Cole Patterson. 3 gold buckles in the last 4 years now.
Yeah, just continuing to follow in that family legacy. Cole went in as the favorite and did what he had to do to get the job done and get another gold buckle.
Yeah, and his dad, you mentioned that, kind of family legacy. Rocky's one of those guys that, even just as of last year, won the NFR average and ultimately, had an injury and decided, I'm going to go ahead and retire, but it doesn't look like Cole's really slowing anything down anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at him, he has so much ahead of him in his career still.
Yeah, he's still a young guy.
He really seems like he's at his peak right now, but not showing any signs of slowing down, and I think we're going to see Cole Patterson dominating out in Mulvane for a long time.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of cool things happening on the podcast later on. In the show, we're going to sit down with Tim Keener. He's the Las Vegas events president, which I'm excited for that, Dodd, because you get a chance to get an inside look on what the NFR means to Las Vegas and, why it was so important for them to keep it there and not have it move after it's been there for so many years.
Yeah, I think it's good, too, that we get like kind of a business perspective, a tourism perspective. Yeah. I mean, this is a huge event, obviously, for pro rodeo and sports in general, but I think Las Vegas – they've done such a great job with the NFR and really situated it as, one of the premier sporting events in the world.
Well, it really is. And we want to remind you that the Chute Bosses podcast is sponsored by Las Vegas, the home of the NFR for 39 years now. You can come see why Vegas is the sports and entertainment capital of the world this December when Pro Rodeo's best saddle up and ride at the NFR. And, I'm excited. You excited to be your first trip? This will be my 4th trip to Vegas already for the NFR.
Yeah, I've never even been to Las Vegas in general.
Wow.
So I'm going to get my first trip to Las Vegas, and I'll get the full experience at the NFR, I'm sure. It's going to be a long trip, a lot of work, but, man, it's going to be exciting, and we're going to be crowning some world champions here in just a few weeks.
And I guarantee you're going to be tired on that last Sunday, Dodd.
Yeah, got to make sure you get your rest in when you're working
Pulling
those
yourself
long
up
events.
Off the pavement a little bit.
We're talking about maybe some smelling salts for the media team or something, whatever we got to do to stay awake.
That's what I was about to say. Whatever it takes to get the job done. Let's jump into our short round. This first story we're going to talk about here a little bit, Dodd. This is one that you had a chance to talk to Edie. Edie Longfellow, honored with the Donita Barnes Lifetime Achievement Award, 57 years of service in the rodeo industry. And what did she have to tell you? It was kind of an emotional time for Edie.
Yeah, she's been put up for this award, I don't know, probably 12 times.
Wow, I didn't realize
so
that.
she's been used to getting the call that, hey, we decided to give it to so-and-so or whatever. But, man, this is a woman who really has been a pillar in the Columbia River circuit. She started, almost 60 years ago. Mm-hmm. She actually talked about how special it was to win the award because she knew Donita Barnes, and talked about the special times they had together at their secretary meetings here in Colorado Springs. And it was a really special moment for her, and, her family's following in that legacy as well. She's got a granddaughter who wants to be a barrel racer, and it's a family affair for the Longfellows.
Yeah, and it's something where, I think one of my favorite quotes from her was talking about how she used to take entries in the bar or at a local pub or whatnot. It just shows kind of how far rodeo's come, and really Edie's seen it from, where it is now to now offering millions and millions of dollars to contestants every year.
And you talk about somebody who's been able to adjust with the times. She was taking entries at bars, and now she's having to use the systems that we have in place now, and has been able to adjust and continue to keep her circuit and the rodeos that she's so involved with at the forefront of pro rodeo. And she talked too about how she likes to come to the NFR Open and like the circuit finals, and she really wants to cheer for her circuit,
pride,
kind of as a team aspect, and really takes pride in it. So she talked about the ups and downs that Columbia River's had, and it feels like they're back. So.
Yeah, there you go. And it's also one of those things where just a super deserving lady, you know. She's basically dedicated her entire life to the sport of rodeo, and it's awesome that us here at the PRCA, we get to recognize her with this award. And I'm sure there won't be anything like it for her at Las Vegas during those awards. So
yeah, I mean,
forward to it.
And we're nothing without the countless volunteers and contract personnel all across the country. Edie talked about that too. She's like, man, I've been in this position for a long time, but all the volunteers that we have come through are the ones that really make everything happen. So it's good that we recognize those kind of unsung heroes of pro rodeo and give them the recognition they deserve.
And maybe one event in pro rodeo that's not getting maybe over the years hasn't got as much recognition as it deserves. That's been the steer ropers. They're kind of looked at as they're not in the main performances at the NFR or all of these rodeos across the country. But the PRCA is trying to provide more outreach to them, more money to them. And we just announced at the NFSR that the total purse of the 2025 NFSR is going to increase all the way up to $550,000, the most money they've ever roped for. And then also, we're putting an additional $5,000 back into each circuit across the country that provides steer roping. So you see that investment in, not only recognizing stock contractors and personnel, but trying to pull up some of these events that maybe haven't got the love that they deserved for years in the past.
Yeah, I mean, and this is an event that a lot of people are really passionate about. People in Mulvane love it. People in Torrington love it. Tracy Rink loves it.
He does. He's a steer roping connoisseur.
There's so many people that are so invested in this event, and it's been a long-standing event in rodeo and in pro rodeo. So it's good to see that the PRCA, that we want to invest in this event and the future of it, and continue to help grow in that event in the PRCA as well.
Well, and it's going to grow not only monetarily, but on the other side of things, for the first time, steer ropers are going to have an opportunity to compete in a PRCA playoff series and a playoff finals. It's going to be the top 15 rodeos across the country that offer steer roping, and now they're going to have their chance for that late season payday. Maybe guys this year that could have had a shout. Somebody like Coleman Proctor finished 17th in the world standings. So now they are going to have that same 15 rodeos throughout the year. They're going to qualify, and then ultimately they're going to get to go to Sioux Falls themselves around that same time frame. May not be in the Denny Sanford Premier Center, but they're going to have a chance to make that late season push themselves, which is awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are trying to make a living, go down the road too. So it's good that there are going to be more money opportunities for them. Something else fun for us to cover here in the media department. Looking forward to seeing what those guys do in Sioux Falls next year.
You're going to have to pry that away from Tracy Rink, though. I think he's got his,
he's
had his hands on steer roping.
Tracy's probably got that one locked down for a while. We might have to take him out of the building before he starts covering steer roping.
Well, we got him out of the building today. All it took was a snowstorm.
A little bit of snow, and can't make it.
Yeah.
You have to figure in Colorado he'd probably be used to it by now. But guess not.
That's great. And one guy that will also be joining the show today, that's Buck. He got snowed in as well. So we're going to have a little bit of a shorter Chute Bosses podcast here, but still some really good things coming our way. And then obviously we'll sit down with Tim Keener. So a lot of fun things coming our way on the Chute Bosses.
Yeah, for better or worse, we're gonna get through the show today. The show must go on.
No doubt. We're gonna take a quick break here on the show. When we come back, we'll have your Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame spotlight, your historic NFR moment of the week, as well as your viewer question. All that coming your way right after this.
Cowboying is in our blood. Cowboying is in our bruises. It's in our rain-soaked jackets. In our calloused hands, tested by barbed wire and rope. Our mud-stained boots to the crown of our resist-all hat. You live out west for even the shortest time, and there's one thing you learn. You can't pretend out here. Resist-all. We live it every day.
Welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast, the official podcast of Pro Rodeo. We talked about it off the top of the show, getting ready to sit down with the president of Las Vegas Events, Mr. Tim Keener. He just went into that position a couple years ago, is doing great things, and obviously before last year's NFR, we announced that we're staying in Vegas until 2035, a $36, I believe, $million deal to keep the NFR in Vegas, and they invest a lot, and I'm curious to see how much rodeo puts back into the city.
Yeah, and that's really what we wanted to find out is, we know what the NFR does for us. We know what it does for our Cowboys, but what does the NFR do for Las Vegas? I mean, this is a town that they have countless events.
Yeah.
There's a convention every weekend. There are a lot of things that go on there, but the NFR really is, like a 2 or 3 week experience out there in Las Vegas with, country concerts and everything else. So kind of interested to hear his perspective on that.
Well, and, throughout the entire winter months, obviously they have the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Raiders going on at the same time. But for years, people had said rodeo carried Vegas during the winter. This is what made Vegas be able to do what they could do.
Yeah, so, you think about rodeo and Vegas, it's kind of hard to separate the two in your mind just with what the NFR has meant to the sport and what it's meant in that location. So kind of excited to see what the future holds in Las Vegas for the next, foreseeable future, really. So.
Yeah, we'll ask Tim about that and kind of get his perspective on what things look like from their angle there in Las Vegas events and how we continue to grow. But let's give another recognition and jump into our Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame spotlight. This is going to be 2006 inductee stock contractor J.C. Doc Sorensen. And this is a guy that did a lot, Dodd. Many hats: football player, vet, politician, mayor, law enforcement officer, and most importantly, a cowboy. And that's how a lot of our guys are that a lot of people don't see is – they're just not a competitor. They're just not a stock contractor. They've got 6 other jobs they're doing alongside it.
Yeah, and that's one of the big reasons that we started the Highwaymen series with Pro Rodeo Films is we want to show our fans, show you, the viewers and listeners, that these cowboys they're more than just a competitor in the arena. They're husbands and fathers and involved in their community. I mean, this guy, Doc, a mayor, a politician, a law enforcement offer. I mean,
and he's got more too. Yeah.
I mean, talk about a guy who's
played college football as well.
Yeah, a guy who's given back to his community or gave back to his community in every way that you could think of. So, definitely worthy of being in the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. And heck, he's probably in a few other Hall of Fames.
No doubt.
Across the country as well.
Yeah, he founded the Colburn and Sorensen Rodeo Company. That was in the early 1930s before eventually turning into Flying U Rodeo Company, and then eventually sold out to Rosser Rodeo, and that's still going strong to this day. For 30 years, he was one of those guys that provided that main stock for rodeos all across the country. Rodeos like Caldwell, Idaho, different stops, the Hellerado days in Las Vegas. They were such an influential part of eventually getting the NFR there and continuing to build it. And I think for 17 years they provided stock at the National Finals Rodeo. So he's definitely he was in his prime back in the late the 60s and 70s, but eventually in 2006 he gets his worthy honor of being inducted in the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. And I think it's important not to let that history die of how he was one of those first stock contractors that kind of pushed the envelope a little bit.
Absolutely. And you talk about unsung heroes in pro rodeo. Stock contractors are vital to what we do.
We wouldn't have any rough
We wouldn't
stock.
have rodeo without stock. And these guys, they invest their lives in these horses and these bulls, and these are rodeo athletes, these horses and bulls. So
well, and they get treated like it. Obviously sometimes rodeo gets that negative outlook of people want to say, oh, the animals aren't treated well, they're not doing that. These are like, we mentioned.
They probably live better than we do.
we mentioned that, ATM machines that these guys make a lot. So they take care of these, how LeBron James takes care of his body now at 40 years old. They're treating these animals just as well. They want that longevity of 10 to 15 years of having this animal underneath their stock contracting firm. So definitely a worthy spotlight there on Doc Sorensen for sure. Andrew, you want to go ahead and work on getting keyed up our Historic NFR Moment of the Week. Does this one have audio? You good to go back there, Kev? So we have audio. We're going to let it play out, and then Alex and I will jump back on here and chat about this historic run.
Oatberry's won $23,000. Oatberry needs the Bulldog today. Like Oatberry. Oh. Yes.
How many times?
3.8. It's a clean run. Oatberry waits to the final hour. Ladies and gentlemen, this moves him to number 2 in the average. 3.8 moves him to the lead in the round, and the guy that has the Bulldog right with him is next to go.
How about that right there, Alex? Yeah. And that 3.8-second run. And I just love the announcement there. That got me hyped up.
The horns in the background, man. Everything about the run, it just feels
the
nostalgic.
Clock back then was something else, too. They just ran the 1, 2, and 3 and then threw up the 0.8. But so that 3.8-second run by Oatberry, that was back in 1995 in round 10 of the National Finals Rodeo. Not only won him the round, as you heard them say there, but also he finished second in the average and went on to win the 1995 PRCA World Championship, his last of 4 gold buckles, and what was a Hall of Fame career for Oatberry.
Yeah, 10 years after he won his first title in 1985, he won another one. And this is a guy, too, that, he didn't go quietly into the night either.
No, yeah.
He stopped rodeoing full-time in 2006, but then he hazed at the NFR 6 times.
Yeah.
Most recently in 2014. So this is a guy that loves rodeo, loves steer wrestling. Rapid City, South Dakota native.
There you go. Your former stomping grounds?
My former stomping grounds up there in Rapid City, and worthy of a spotlight. And what a great run. I mean, it's just textbook.
Well, and we always mention, the best athletes and those people that are known for their all-time greatness, they show up when they have to. And this was a run where he needed to pull himself up into the average. He needed to win the round. He did it all. And, he reminds me of is a guy like Tyler Wagisback. For the last 2 years, Wags has been either second, third, or fourth in those world standings entering the final night, does everything he has to do, and somehow the chips fall where they may, and he wins another world title, and now he's got five world titles. He was tied with Oat Berry before, and now he's closing in on that all-time number.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have consistency over the 10 rounds, but you got to have a little luck and a little bit of clutch in you once you get into round 10. So, a little bit of foreshadowing there with Oates' run toward what Wags has been able to do the last few years. We'll see if Wags can pull up some serious magic this year in Las Vegas.
The old Wagical is going to have to take it to another level here in 2024 because he's going to be trying to climb himself up from the number 14 spot in the world standings.
Yeah, and another thing from Oat Berry, as I was kind of reading about him earlier, they called him, a quiet champion.
He didn't even get super excited
after that
didn't even get super
pumped up, and that's what clinched him the world title. But he had this quote that's down in the Hall of Fame. If you win, then walk over and pick up your money. If you lose, then walk over and congratulate the man who won. And that's what you saw right there. He won. There's no pomp and circumstance. Just goes and shakes the next man up's hand and goes and collects his paycheck and his gold buckle.
Well, that's kind of what rodeo is, Dodd. You obviously have some people that get excited, get pumped up, but a lot of it's just like, all right, now tomorrow they're going to talk about who's leading the world already for 2025.
Yep.
So once we get to Sunday at the Thomas and Mack or in Las Vegas, they're going to say, all right, who's on the front runner to win the 2025 world title. So that's kind of how it is. And
a little bit of Barry Sanders there, just run over, hand the ball to the ref.
And say, hey, we're on to the next one. Oat Berry, definitely a historic Pro Rodeo Hall of Famer and deserving moment there under the lights in Las Vegas. Let's run on to our viewer question now. This one comes from Emily on YouTube. They want to know, what year was the Cowboy Turtle Association founded? A lot of people, we've been running logos the last couple of years to kind of promote that. I think we did Andrew, what was it? We did a April Fool's joke where we were saying we were going back to that original logo. And, so that's one of the founding organizations and how they actually started it, Dodd. We have to go back all the way to 1936. They were at a rodeo in Madison Square Garden in New York, and they just got fed up and tired. And they're just like, all right, we're done. Walked out before a performance and says, we're not having this anymore. We need more respect. And then all of a sudden, Cowboy Turtle Association in 1936, and a pretty fitting way that they found their name for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, ever since then, we've been trying to protect our Cowboys and do what's in their best interest and, serve our membership. Obviously, we want to grow the fan base and everything in the process as well. But if we take care of our own, we think those things will kind of happen naturally. But, man, I just love that logo.
Me too. It's sweet.
The
CTA.
The old green and white. It's kind of crazy that we went from that to the shield we have behind you now. But
yeah, it is. Pretty awesome, though, man.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the reason they chose that Turtle Association name because they said, well, we've been slow to act. They kind of let their feet drag for years and years, and then finally they got up the gumption to stick their neck out. So they decided, heck, we're basically a tortoise here. We're a turtle, And so they decided to stick their neck out and became the Turtle Association, and then obviously went on to the RCA, and then now here we are at the PRCA, the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. So it's been quite the adjustment and quite the the story to get to where we are now, nearly 100 years later. So
yeah, and it's good for us always to keep that perspective of the CTA and sticking your neck out for your own and try to incorporate that in our the way that we do things here in Colorado Springs today.
And some of those members are probably older at this point. Some of them probably have passed away, but I'm sure we still have some of those founding, maybe that were super young when the Turtle Association was started, that are still around, and I'm sure that they'd love to look back on where they came from to where they are now, offering $14-15 million at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. And Zeke Thurston's quote: "You can become rich rodeoing nowadays." He feels like you really can, and if you invest it the right way. Think of where we came from when they were running for $20 per run to now, they're running for $30,000 a run in Vegas. So
yeah,
it's awesome.
And even looking at some of our regular season rodeos, like what Rodeo Houston's doing this year in terms of payout, and what all of our playoff series rodeos have done to up the standard, what they're doing in steer roping to up the standard and compete in the playoff series as well. So a lot of good things happening in the rodeo world right now.
Those 60 rodeos that we have, which are known as the PRCA Playoff Series rodeos, $28 million in payout in 2023. Wow. So it just shows that, those top numbers, and I can expect them that they will only keep growing. We're going to be $30-40 million in regular season rodeos. And just this year, I think we're up to total rodeo payout in the PRCA, $68 million. Throughout the regular season.
And there are a lot of guys that can make a living without even making the NFR now.
No doubt, which has never happened before.
16th or 17th, or even 20th.
They're still making $100,000.
With sponsors and payouts, can make a living.
Yeah. So Emily, we kind of got off the rails. But to go back to your question, the Turtle Association founded in 1936, and obviously a major milestone and a major turning point in the history of pro rodeo. So we appreciate your question. And like we said, we don't have Buck. We don't have. You got any CB Nation? Tracy loves to address CB Nation.
I didn't get anything from CB Nation.
They didn't reach out to you.
Chute Nation.
Yeah, as Tracy likes to call.
Whatever Tracy calls it. Sometimes I didn't get any messages from him. I know it probably had something to do with snowshoes or he doesn't need snowshoes because he walks barefoot through the snow and you have to do it both ways to school.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
That.
Yeah, he's probably still out trekking right now, no shoes.
That's
trying
why
to
he's
get to
not
Walmart.
here. He's walking from Pueblo to Colorado Springs.
I like it.
Barefoot in the snow.
Couldn't quite get up here, so we won't have Buck, no viewer or no CB Nation, but we're about to sit down with a man that has a lot of influence on the sport of rodeo, especially in the city of Las Vegas. Las Vegas Events President Tim Keener coming your way. So don't go anywhere. We're back with much more right after this on the Chute Bosses.
Farm life means always hoping for the best, but planning for uncertainty. You have to be ready for the next everything, the next dawn, the next season, the next harvest, the next technology, the next challenge, and the next generation. No matter what comes your way, we can help keep you ready for the next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast, the official podcast of Pro Rodeo. And we've got a great guest coming our way here, Dodd. We mentioned it off the top of the show, getting ready to sit down with Tim Keener, the president of Las Vegas Events. And Tim, we can't wait to chat with you. We appreciate you taking a little time out of your day to jump on here with us and talk a little bit about the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo presented by Teton Ridge.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm happy to be here today. Excited to talk about the NFR, Wrangler NFR coming up. It's inside of 30 days now. So the team here is, we're busy. We've been busy the last 3-4 months, but you could just see the slow kind of tidal wave coming, and everybody's got their game face on, and we're ready to go, ready to welcome the PRCA, the contestants, stock contractors, fans, everybody to town. So it's a fun part of the year for us here in Las Vegas.
Well, Tim, the first thing I want to ask you is what type of economic impact does the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo have on the city of Las Vegas? Because we know that obviously hundreds and thousands of fans travel out to Vegas for those 10 days.
Yeah. The economic impact is really important to the destination. The NFR itself is just around $200 million annually. And then the Cowboy Christmas gift show separately is another $180 million. So, if you take a look at the two core events that LVE is involved with, it's $380 million, give or take a little bit. But those numbers really fluctuate, but that doesn't take into account kind of all the viewing parties that are not tracked at the hotels. Okay, there's fans that come into town that may not have tickets, and 24 hotels have viewing parties, so those fans are watching the events there. So we don't really track that economic impact. But, you know, over the 2-week time period, it's a good number here for the destination, and turns into Cowboy Town, and we're real excited about coming up here in December.
You mentioned it turning into Cowboy Town. I know during those 2 weeks that there's countless concerts that are going on in Las Vegas from pretty much everybody in country music. What does that kind of look like for you guys, just with having every star in country music there, and really making the NFR 2 weeks about more than just what happens on the dirt in the Thomas and Mack?
Yeah, you're right. We just totaled those up a couple days ago. We've got 114 individual concerts over the 10 days. I mean, think of that your full day, guys. You could get up and you could shop at one of 5 gift shows that are in town. So during the day, you keep the wives and the girlfriends happy and all that. You got to go take them out, do a little shopping. Then you got the rodeo. And then afterwards, you got 114 concerts. And, and that's not counting the Eagles at the Sphere that will be here. We got George Strait at the stadium, Kojo, Lainey Wilson, Black Crows. I go on and on. But after hours, you will not get bored. You got all the dining opportunities. But if you want to go to a concert, you really got your pick of the country music and other mainstream music that's in town. So a lot of good things to do here.
Well, you mentioned that, everyone that's coming to Las Vegas for the NFR. What does that do for hotel-wise? How many rooms do you expect I guess here in 2024 to be filled during those 10 days? Obviously, not everybody goes for 10 days, but you have people kind of fluctuating in and out of Las Vegas.
Yeah. We have right now about 153,000 hotel rooms. Okay, it seems like a lot, but for NFR, the majority of the rooms over those 10 days are NFR related. But you got to keep in mind that we have Raider games, we got Golden Knights games, we got the NBA in-season tournament that'll be here for their semifinals and championship games. But the majority of the rooms are NFR related. But so when the NBA comes into town, it's still Cowboy Town, even though they may be crowning their in-season tournament champions. But a lot of good things. There's 26 hotels that we have, host hotels that participate, and they roll out the red carpet for not only the contestants or the officials who stay in there, but the fans. And they have activations before, during, and after the events in the terms of the viewing parties we talked about and stuff like that. So there's something to do 24 hours a day here in Las Vegas if you're an NFR fan.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, earlier in the show we were talking about the extension with Las Vegas for the NFR to keep it in town for the foreseeable future. What does that partnership mean for you guys and the city, and what makes Las Vegas perfectly situated to be Cowboy Town for the NFR?
Well, we're a little biased. I mean, we feel like this is the perfect place for the NFR. I don't want to upset anybody from the Midwest and all that. But, Vegas is a 24-hour town, as I mentioned. And working with Tom Glaus and his board and my board, we worked for a year and a half on this extension. It was real important to not only us, but the PRCA. And I think everybody in the end, for the next 12 years here, everybody's excited about the upside for the contestant and the stock contractors and everybody that benefits from that. And, we're coming on our 40th year next year, and we're real excited about rolling out some special things next year. But we're proud of having the NFR here in Las Vegas, and the hotel folks, they look forward to this, and we're appreciative of the Western fans and the PRCA and their groups coming to town. It's real important to any destination to host a big major event like this. So we appreciate what the NFR brings to town, and we want to make sure we roll out the red carpet and show them the hospitality we're capable of.
Yeah, Tim, you've been around the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo for quite a few years now. How would you describe the moment Viva Las Vegas plays for the first time on, round one on that Thursday night when the national anthem gets done and they play Viva Las Vegas? How would you describe that from your point of view?
Well, I've done this a long time, but I still get, the hair on my arms kind of raises up, and you hear Viva come out, and it's an exciting time, especially the first couple of days. Day one, everybody's excited. They're getting back in, saying hello to everybody they haven't seen in a while. But my favorite part still is the grand entry. There is no greater moment in sports. And you look at some of these football entrances they have at Clemson and other places like that, but the grand entry, 120 contestants rolling in on horseback. And then if you ever get a chance, I tell people, you go up the top of the tunnel at the end of the grand entry. When those contestants are rolling back up through there, it's like a freight train coming back up the tunnel, and that's exciting. And so the whole rodeo itself with the Viva and the opening ceremony, but to me, my personal favorite again is that grand entry. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Well, Tim, I'm a Clemson grad, so I'm a little biased, and we'll see what my opinion is come December. But what do you think makes the NFR such a special sporting event? Obviously, you've been in sports for longer than you've been going to the NFR with experience in college sports and working for major networks. What do you think kind of makes the NFR so special and unique compared to other large sporting events?
Well, again, I think a lot of it has to do with the fans that are coming into town. This is their vacation. They've rodeoed or watched their friends and family all year long. So it's a time for 10 days to come here, celebrate the accomplishments of their friends and family. And for the season ticket holders, they've been coming here for years and years. And this is, again, they mark their calendar. And Las Vegas has everything that you can imagine, from booking hotel rooms. We got those 26 host hotels, and you can, depending on your budget, you can select Stay Your Way as our promotional campaign this year. You could select your hotel based on your budget. You can figure out the things you want to do during the day, whether it's the shopping, whether it's some of the spin-off events at the All-In Barrel Racing, Bullfighters Only, the World Series. Team roping is here at the South Point Arena, all the gift shows. What we offer here, and again, that's a compliment to all the hotels that all roll out these services. The fans never get bored when you wake up in the morning, you grab breakfast, and what am I going to do this day?
Yeah.
You can do 10 different things if you're here all 10 days. If you're only here 3 or 4 days, you're going to probably circle your calendar and start to lay out what you want to do before you get here, because otherwise you're going to sit over breakfast with a Bloody Mary maybe and figure out what you want to do. And by the time you get situated, you're going to miss half the day, and you don't want that. We want people out having a good time here in town with all the activities, and make sure they come away happy and know they had a good time here in town.
Yeah, Tim, our producer, Andrew Rosario, here behind us here in our studios, has a quick question for you.
Yes, sir. So you mentioned the grand entry is one of your favorite parts of the NFR, but I just had a question, like if you had a favorite discipline or a favorite cowboy that you like to watch during the NFR.
Well, that's a tough one. I'm not sure I want to pull one out, but the favorite. I don't really have a favorite, but I enjoy them all. But the bull riding at the end, I know that's the end of the performance, and making sure all the bull riders get through the performance kind of unscathed. And then that means your day's over. And to us here at LV, it's kind of like Groundhog Day. We get up and do the same thing over and over. Mm-hmm. And when bull riding comes up and we get a successful performance, then we do some post meetings and get up and do it again. So I'm not really answering your question, but knowing that bull riding is my favorite because it marks the end of the day. And we just got to get up and make it bigger and better the next day, and also that we can provide that entertainment for the fans.
Well, you already touched on it just a little bit, Tim. Do you guys have any things that you are maybe bringing out for the first time and rolling here in 2024 that you want Pro Rodeo fans to know about? Any exciting promotions from Las Vegas events?
Well, every year at the end of each NFR in the spring, our staff gets together and we critique ourselves, and we come up with we pull together notes, and we might have 500 notes that we kind of whittle down over a 2 or 3 month period. And we sit and we listen to our fans. And that's what I want the fans to know is we do surveys and questionnaires, and those comments come back, and we sit and we listen to you. And while there may not be major improvements that you may see, we take the most common kind of critique comments that may have, and a lot of it has to do with traffic and things like that, that we'd love to kind of magically fix that. But, at the Cowboy Christmas gift show, we are moving the junior world finals outside to a tent. That's kind of the big change you'll see. That event just keeps growing and growing. And based on space limitations, we decided to move it out into a parking lot, into a tent that's full size of what they had inside. What that's doing is making the producers and those bringing the stock and their animals, instead of taking them up ramps and into the convention center, it's a lot easier logistic wise. And from the fan standpoint, who are sitting there watching their friends and family compete, it'll be a lot more enjoyable, easier to get to and out that. But down at Cowboy Christmas, that's probably the biggest change. But what you see at Thompson Mack is we always try to improve on parking, the food and beverage, and things like that. We work with the venue throughout the year. But it's the subtle changes that you may not see, but it's those subtle changes that we get in from the critique comments from our fans. Yeah. And we get so many responses from them, and we listen to you, and we take into account. Each department might have a half dozen initiatives that they're working to improve on, and most of those initiatives come from the fan surveys. Yeah. So I want the fans to know out there, as you continue to fill out surveys, at least with LVE, we listen to you, we take it seriously, and it's really important to us on making the next year's event bigger and better and improved.
That's awesome, Tim. I know you mentioned kind of that planning stage, those 2 or 3 months of looking at comments. Here, sitting about 4 weeks out from when things really get kicked off, where are you guys kind of at in terms of getting ready for the event, and what do the next few weeks look like for Las Vegas events?
We're ready. It's just we all have timelines that we work from, and we have an in-rodeo entertainment committee that meets weekly with our production team. So we're finalizing to run a show for all 10 nights. So all that's kind of coming into finalization there. But our team here, the group that works on Cowboy Christmas, things are moving along on that. The sponsor tickets are going out. All the fans have their tickets. So everything is just, we've done this event for so long. We all have our timelines, and everything's kind of right on schedule. And we just can't wait to get the move-in. And move-in's when it really starts to happen, which is the week of Thanksgiving. So that's when we get control of the convention center. We get over at Thompson Mack after the basketball team leaves. So you can only plan so much, but until you get access to those venues, that's when the real work starts, and we're excited for it. So team's ready, and looking forward to the 39th NFR here in Vegas this December.
So, Tim, I know you probably try to stay away from it living in Vegas, but are we a slot machine guy, or are we a card game guy when it comes to gambling?
I like to play the parlays a little bit, but I don't do it very often. Okay, I tend to do them around the Triple Crown races.
Okay.
And I don't jinx my football team anymore, and but no, I don't do a whole lot. I work too hard for my money. I don't like to give it all back, but like to bet on the Triple Crown races and have a little fun there. But tend to keep my money in my pocket.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the last thing I have for you here, Tim, is obviously fans are starting to make their way out there. The Vegas NFR is just in a couple of weeks. How do we? What can fans expect from the moment they step foot in Las Vegas to kind of prime them up and get them excited?
Yeah, well, most of them are following the NFR Experience website and app that we have. So a lot of the fans in our survey and research, they've already kind of planned their trip. But once they get off here, arrive into town, whether it's driving or airport, once they get their hotels, they're going to see an impact of cowboy hats, taxi cabs. They're wearing their cowboy hats. So we embrace the cowboy town mentality here, and we appreciate the rodeo fans and contestants, stock contractors coming to town. And we're all looking forward to it and want to make sure everybody feels welcome. And can't wait to see my first rodeo fan here at the hotel when I walk through there.
Yep. Well, Tim, we can't thank you enough for jumping on here with us. We know it's one of your busiest times of the year, but we just wanted to give our fans an idea of, what goes into it from your guys' perspective, and because they don't get to see that very often. But we also appreciate all you guys do at Las Vegas Events to make this thing possible.
Well, thank you for having me, and for you and all the other podcasts are out there. They're all very important to spreading the word to the Western lifestyle fans and all that. So we appreciate what you guys do, and anytime we can help you out, just give us a call.
Well, we look forward to seeing you. 3.5 weeks we'll be out there, Tim. So we'll.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
it. There's Tim Keener, the president of Las Vegas Events, Alex, and it is so cool to see that side of it because we're kind of sports nerds. We like the action and everything, but we also like the business that kind of goes on behind it and how these things come to fruition. And talk about the impact. Over $200 million that the NFR brings, and that doesn't include people gambling and everything else.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we think so much about just what happens in the Thomas and Mack and what's happening on the dirt that we don't even get really a glimpse at.
That's about all we get to see, yeah.
All the other things that are happening in the city of Las Vegas that, are geared towards the Western lifestyle. And
114 concerts, is that what he said? Individual concerts.
I mean, pick your act. I mean, there's got to be somebody you love in country music. There's 114 acts, and he mentions that doesn't even include what's going on at the Sphere and these other places in town.
I bet that Eagles show at the Sphere is awesome, honestly.
Yeah, and then he said George Strait, Cody Johnson. There's going to be a lot of great acts. Laney Wilson, who was there last year, so can't wait. Did it get you excited, Alex?
Oh, I'm ready to go. Fire it up. Let's get on the jet and go down to Vegas now. Why not?
I love it. We still got a couple weeks. Still got some things to break down before we get there.
He said there's no snow on the ground, so that probably means it's easier to get around than it is here in Colorado Springs
Let's
today.
hope for 70s while we're in Vegas. That would be great. But we can't thank Tim Keener enough for jumping here on the show. That's going to do it for another episode of the Chute Bosses. So many more exciting things coming your way as we lead up to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo coming soon. Coming soon, Dodd. Before we know it, we'll be in Vegas in the Thomas and Mack trying to crown some world champions. That's going to do it for another episode of the Chute Bosses. Until then, keep on rodeo.
He's addicted to danger, ruled by passion and pride. To pain and fear he's no stranger, but his lust needs to be satisfied. Hook on an 8-second ride.